is your podcast about? Hanging out with your smartest and funniest friends.
You know me, I'll kill anybody, but I'll only sleep with someone I love.
Maybe she's a slut, just like her mother.
Hey cuties! Welcome to Horror Icon, your queer playground for all things scary, sexy, and stupid. My name is CryBaby, and you know me, I'm the spooky slut from your wettest nightmares, and with me today we have a very, very ultra special guest.
Ultra special.
The most special.
Hi, I'm Donnie Cianciotto.
Cianciotto.
Cianciotto. Say it with me. Cianciotto.
So I'm going to pull back the curtain here already. We're like 30 seconds in. I'm pulling back the curtain.
That was fast.
So we already recorded some stuff. And even now, there's something about your last name that my brain does not hold on to. Cianciotto, right?
Cianciotto.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I do practice.
I believe you.
I'm not even like, I'll be on the train. And I'm like, okay, we're recording on Sunday. And so, like, on Friday, I'll be like, Cianciotto.
So you have it until the moment that you need it.
And then it just leaves my brain.
Yeah.
That's how it happens. But anyway, hi.
Hi.
So, welcome to our first ever Franchise Friday.
First ever Franchise Friday.
Yes.
That's a lot of alliteration.
It is. I'm a big fan of alliteration, actually. I use it a lot. Spooky, Sexy, Stupid, Franchise Friday, all that fun stuff. So for those of you who are listening and or watching at home, you guessed it, on Fridays we're going to be talking about horror movie franchises, which is such a huge market of the horror genre.
Absolutely. Has been for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Longer than that. Oh my God. I'm so much older than I like to give myself credit for. Let's say 50 years.
Oh yeah. You know, it'd be fun. We should look into like the first ever franchise.
The first ever franchise, my brain is going to like Halloween.
But
There must have been stuff before that, right?
Like, I'm thinking of the Universal Monsters.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's even older than I am.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little
This
bit.
much.
No, yeah, because I'm thinking you had like the Bride of Frankenstein. You had Frankenstein, and then the Bride of Frankenstein.
And then there was probably like Curse of Frankenstein and Frankenstein's Monster. And
All that stuff.
Frankenstein Goes to School.
Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
That was one of them.
So, yeah, we'll just say that like the Universal Monsters, I think, are like the OG franchises. But
That makes sense.
we're talking about a super gay one this time. And I'm so excited that you're here for this one.
Thank you. I'm always excited to be here when it's super gay.
When it's always, yeah, we're here, we're queer, and we are full of fear.
Oh, I like it. Did you just come up with that?
I did.
That's a good one. Mm-hmm.
Since the inception of this podcast, you know this, you have been like number one with a bullet on my list of people to come onto this show for a multitude of reasons. So we're going to spend some time getting to know Donnie. Of course, we're going to have plenty of time to talk about the franchise.
Perfect.
But it's also important that the audience gets to know who you are, what you stand for, how we know each other, and all that fun stuff. So,
Cool. All that fun stuff.
all the fun stuff.
All right, I'm ready. Let me have it.
Beautiful. So the first thing, I mean, we've known each other for how long now? It's been 3
years-ish? A little over 3 years?
Yeah, just a little over 3 years. We used to work together, and the first thing that we bonded on was horror.
Was horror.
Well, actually, the first thing I clocked was that you were a Scorpio.
How did you know?
It couldn't be a tattoo.
Could it be the tattoo or the necklace? Yeah.
We love Scorpios on this channel. Yes, I feel
It's a horror podcast. You have to love the Scorpios.
I feel like Scorpios are one of the other zodiac signs that get as much heat as Geminis do.
People do not like us.
I don't know why. Why are you here?
Now we just lost everybody.
I know. The subscription's going down. So yeah, one of the first things we bonded over was horror. And I just feel like that was 98% of our conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why, of course, you were the first one that came to my mind here.
Oh,
But
thank you.
before we go even further into that, I just want to give you some space to introduce yourself to the audience and the listeners and tell us about yourself.
Let's see. I am a New York City native. I live in Queens right now. I work as an actor predominantly. So I do a lot of theater. Musical theater is what I went to school for. I run a cabaret troupe called Trans Voices Cabaret. that highlights transgender and non-binary performers who are either like beginning their careers or like rising stars or Broadway performers. You know, we kind of toss everybody up on that stage and let them do their thing.
It's been, how long has Trans Voices Cabaret been going on?
It's been going on in New York City since 2017.
2017. I'd love to take a moment to talk about how and why Trans Voices Cabaret came to be.
Sure. Trans Voices Cabaret started because I was constantly going on auditions for shows and seeing these incredible transgender and non-binary entertainers that were all there to compete for like one role, you know, as an audition is. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun if instead of fighting one another for a role, we all just worked together and did a show? So I know, right? What a concept. So we produced the first Trans Voices Cabaret in November of 2017, and it was supposed to just be this one-off thing that I was doing, and everybody enjoyed it. The audience, the actors enjoyed it so much that here we are, 6 years later, and we're still doing it. And now we have Trans Voices Cabaret chapters all across the country and one in London.
I did not know that.
We do. We have one in Chicago, Los Angeles, Portland, Minneapolis, and London.
That's so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations on that. That's
Thank
a
you.
huge accomplishment.
It's pretty cool.
And I'll say for those of you listening at home, I went to my first Trans Voices Cabaret 2 months ago now. It was back in March.
Mm-hmm.
And the talent that you curate is insane. Like these performers are really just powerhouses.
Oh yeah, every single one of them. And they're all bookable. So put them on that stage.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Correct me if this is a not correct opinion, but I'm certain that a lot of trans folks are eager to get cast in roles that are not just because they are trans or not just trans roles.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it would be so exciting to be able to just play the fun guy or the brother or the dad or, you know, the next door neighbor without it being the trans next door neighbor, you know, where, trust us, we still want to be cast for those trans roles, but it would be nice to just be able to be cast as an actor instead of a trans actor too.
Exactly. Without that qualifier on it. Because at that point, it's just a check mark for diversity or whatever, you know?
Definitely.
And it's not, at least from my perspective, it's not true inclusion at that point. It's just like, all right, we're filling a box. Or,
I feel like a lot of trans actors have definitely been tokens.
Yeah.
You know, been tokenized.
No tokens, just cash.
That's right. We
Just
don't take
cash.
tokens here.
Well, that's awesome. Trans Voices Cabaret, how can our listeners learn more?
You can find out about Trans Voices Cabaret on Instagram at Trans Voices Cabaret. That's it.
I'm
It's
gonna
going to
have
be
it
on the
right
bottom.
down there. Exactly.
Perfect.
Yes, follow, because another great thing about the show is, like, yes, you can come and support in person, which is always wonderful, just to have that energy and that presence in the room. But there's another way to support and watch the show, right?
Absolutely. We live stream every single show, so you have no excuse. Anywhere you are, you can be watching it at home.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you right now, you will not be disappointed.
Thank you so much for the plug.
Of course. Here's the thing. We will shamelessly plug on this channel.
Absolutely.
1,000%. Every single person that comes on, if I have things going on,
Across
it's
the
going to be
bottom.
right
There it
across
is.
the bottom. If you're listening at home, I am gesturing across the bottom of the screen because there for certain will be Instagram handles, shameless self-promotions, product placements. I don't know. Whatever
Product
happens.
placements.
Yeah.
Yes, let's get to that point.
Oh my goodness. If I can get sponsored by, I don't know, Shudder if you're
Ooh,
out there.
that's right. There you go.
That's like a dream of mine.
Being sponsored by Shudder.
Yeah. First off, I would hope that they would give me a free membership.
Yeah, I know.
I would hope so.
It's like $5.99 a month or something. They
I
can
know.
definitely afford it.
Which, here's the thing. Like, of course, $5.99 a month isn't a big deal.
It is for me. I can't afford it. I'm an
Well,
actor.
that's true. It's true. Book Donnie, y'all.
That's right.
Book Donnie so Donnie can get Shudder.
Uh-huh.
Shudder. Sponsor Donnie
So I
Donnie-
can get Shudder. Mm-hmm.
So you are I almost said Vegas.
Ooh, where are we?
We're in New York. I'm from Vegas.
You're from Vegas.
Where did that come from?
Wow.
Wow. So you are a New York native.
Yes.
Live in Queens. You are an actor. You produce Trans Voices Cabaret. All wonderful things. But the most important question I have for you, Donnie, is, do you love horror?
Oh my God, I love horror.
Yeah, baby. What got you into horror?
I think I was just born that way, you know? The first horror experience that I remember having where I was like, this is really fun, was at a slumber party in like 1988, forever ago. And the movie Evil Dead 2 was on. And none of us were supposed to be watching this. I was 7 or 8 years old. And we all snuck, into the den to watch this movie. And everybody was terrified. All these girls at the slumber party were just screaming their heads off and hiding behind pillows. And I was focused and thinking, this is fantastic. Not only was I able to tell that the movie was scary, but I also knew that it was funny. And I was hooked, instantly hooked by that classic melding of horror and comedy that, is done so well in those movies. So that was an early experience with horror, and I just kind of have been riding that train ever since.
That's awesome. I have a confession to make.
I know what you're going to say.
I've never seen Evil Dead 2.
I knew it.
It's also on my ever-growing list.
Well, watch that first.
Really? Even before the first one? You mean just like on my list?
On your
movies.
list,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I'm thinking of doing is including it on Franchise Fridays as well.
There you go.
But also having it be like a nice little like virginal moment of like, oh, I've never done this before.
A virginal
I've
moment.
never done this before.
A virginal moment for CryBaby.
Mm-hmm. So just kind of like my first kill kind of thing. So I might be saving that for... saving it for marriage. No, I might be saving that for the podcast. And maybe I'll have you cycle back on for that one,
Hey,
too.
that'd be great. I'd love to talk about Evil Dead.
Absolutely. We're going to put a pin in that one.
Put a pin in that one.
Yes, you can pop my Evil Dead cherry if you want.
I'm here for it.
Yes. Another thing that we've talked about a lot is that relationship between horror and comedy. And like how... I feel like you can't have one without the other.
I kind of agree with you. I mean, horror in and of itself is kind of campy. So yeah, it's really difficult to separate the two.
Mm-hmm. And I think they both, when done well, and when I say well, I mean when done to my taste and my liking.
Specifically.
I think that both comedy and horror really excel when there's this sense of like surreal whimsy, like this perverse cleverness to it. Either one of those genres can benefit from like that kind of qualifier, that kind of characteristic or that perspective.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that we do when we get scared is we laugh. So even if you're watching a movie that isn't particularly funny and there's a great jump scare in it, what do? We scream and then we laugh because there's kind of a relief that we weren't actually being attacked in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
So you laugh at yourself for the reaction that you're having. So I think fear and laughter can really, go hand in hand a lot with horror movies.
Yeah, and I think they're both, you said it, like they both are release valves in a way, like screaming and or laughing. Like in both of those scenarios, at least from a carnal human experience, you are emitting something that is unfiltered and I don't know, necessary to express an experience, I think.
Absolutely. And your dopamine and your adrenaline are going. And, I think that the fear that we feel when we know that we're actually not in any danger is kind of exciting. And that's kind of the same thing as if you were, like you were saying, if you were laughing a lot, the same bodily reaction.
I agree. Oh God, isn't horror fucking great?
It's just so great.
Oh, I fucking love horror. You know what? I'm not going to go like fully off book, but kind of off book. I just want to know, just off of the cuff, like, of course, Evil Dead, you said, is one of your like core horror memories, but like, what are some of your other favorite horror films, some of your favorite characters, tropes even?
Sure. My absolute hands down favorite horror movie is called The Descent.
I love that movie.
An all-woman cast, absolutely terrifying, and it does just enough point of view shooting, like Blair Witch Project, which I also happen to love, that it's this nice back and forth between like being able to watch the actors and then being able to see from the actor's point of view. And I think it's just so well done, and it's utterly terrifying. If you haven't seen The Descent, tell them Donnie sent you and go watch The Descent.
I will second that. I'm going to throw that out there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you can watch it in theaters, if there's ever an opportunity for it to be a theater going experience, definitely fucking do it. Because that in theaters, just the immersion in that the world that they build is insane. And I think what makes it so terrifying.
And the sequel's pretty good too. I mean, as far as sequels go, which are not always fantastic, it's pretty good.
I would agree with that too.
Other horror movies that I like, I obviously love the Scream franchise. I know we've talked about that
Ad nauseum.
Yep. So that's one of them. I mean, all of the old school 80s franchises from Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, obviously Evil Dead. I really enjoy. Do you ever watch Creep?
Creep. Oh, that's kind of, it's in like the found footagey kind of realm too, right?
It is, and it's like kind of horror, kind of drama.
I think so. With the guy that he has like the wolf.
He's
head.
got the mask. Yeah.
I saw Creep maybe 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, Creep is up there. So is this totally random movie called As Above, So Below.
That one is
See, more found footage type stuff. I really like that stuff.
As Above, So Below. I did not like the first time I watched it. I watched it when it first came out, but that was also I think I was in my early 20s. And fun fact, CryBaby in her early 20s was kind of not a total asshole, but
Not total.
I was in a completely different point in my life. I wasn't as connected with horror then. I will admit there was, and it's kind of funny seeing me like this now, but there was this point in my life where I was very like mask for mask kind of gay.
Were you?
I was.
I didn't know this.
I was a mask for mask queen, which is weird now. I mean, obviously I don't care, but anyway, that version of me did not appreciate As Above, So Below. Like I walked out, I'm like, that was stupid. That's a movie that's trying to be too smart for blah, 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 blah.
How
like
interesting.
I was a total dickhead about it. And then I rewatched it maybe like 2 years ago. And I'm like, mama.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's quite good.
That's so interesting that your opinion of it changed as you changed as a person. Huh.
Yeah, we'll see if that makes it into the podcast or not. I don't know if I want people out there knowing that I used to be one of those gays.
One
That
of
was like,
those
I'm not one
gays.
of those gays. One of those gays that said, I'm not one of those gays. And now here I am, one of those gays.
One of those gays.
No longer one of those gays.
Oh my goodness. You could drive a person crazy with all that.
I feel like I need some red yarn and like...
Yes, some thumbtacks.
some thumbtacks. Yes, found footage is always fun. Always
And
fun.
when Blair Witch came out, that was kind of the first found footage movie. It's not the first found footage movie. It was the first that got critically acclaimed, really. And I was in my early 20s. I could have been maybe 22 when it came out. We were kind of convinced that it was real.
I mean, they marketed it that way, which is part of the brilliance of that movie, is how they marketed it.
Yeah.
Marketed it.
That's how they marketed it. Yeah, it was brilliant, using the actors' real names and the website that they had and everything like that. And so I remember seeing it in the theater with a group of friends. And then we went out to this coffee house and sat around talking about it for like 3 or 4 hours until the coffee house closed at 2 a.m. And then on my drive home, I was just absolutely convinced that there was something in my backseat.
Oh, wait.
The whole way home. And I had just moved out, got my own apartment. Maybe I was a little bit younger. I don't remember. And I was so scared that night that I got back in my car, drove to my mother's house. And when she woke up in the morning, she found me on her couch and was like, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I saw a really scary movie last night." Like, it scared me so much that I had to go home.
I love that so much. That's fucking hilarious.
It was hilarious to everybody at that moment. So I understand how ridiculous it was to wake up on my mom's couch, but that movie really, really got me.
Yeah. And I wish people would give it more of its flowers. Like, okay, sure. Since Blair Witch came out, like, we've seen found footage done a million ways. And a lot of people say, oh, Blair Witch isn't that scary. Blair Witch isn't that scary. And I'm like, bitch, just sit down and like watch the movie without looking at it through the 2020 lens or without comparing it to like Paranormal Activity or Grave Encounters or whatever fuck all, movie you're comparing it to. Because It is like if you sit with it, it is genuinely scary. Especially like the last, I think, 10 minutes are absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, I think, it takes a certain kind of person to find that movie frightening because so much of it is left up to you. It's what you think is going to come jumping out of the bushes or what you are imagining that this potential witch or murderer looks like, because it's never really shown. And I have such a active imagination, an overactive imagination, that I was terrified through the whole thing because I was scaring myself. They just set up a situation in which you could freak yourself out. And I was like, I will take this opportunity to scare the crap out of myself.
Challenge accepted. I am your perfect audience.
I was. I still am.
Yes.
What else? I enjoy this new trope of not burying your gays, because for so long, if there was a gay character in a horror movie, you knew that they were going to get, at some point, And now it's like horror movies are trying to say like, hey, we're sorry. And, letting the gay character survive. So I'm into that.
That's nice. We do want to live.
Yeah, like we don't need to be killed off anymore. Not that we ever needed to be, but like Hollywood was like, oh, we need to punish this person for being gay. So we got to get rid of them,
It is now time for our rapid interview questions, baby.
All right, bring it.
Each co-host that joins me for a Franchise Friday will be asked this series of questions. Rapid fire. Don't think about it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
We're starting off easy. Are you hydrated today?
Moderately.
Moderately. Is that water?
No,
That's an IPA.
Yeah, we're not allowed to say the brand probably, but it's an IPA.
I love that. Drinking on this channel?
I know.
Oh my goodness. I feel like that's going to be a monthly thing.
Yep.
All right. So we're moderately hydrated, moderately inebriated. Fuck yes. What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is black.
Wonderful. What's your favorite season of the year?
It's definitely autumn.
Autumn. We love an autumn. We love an autumn.
It's my birthday season.
That's true. It has to be. That's probably why I'm partial to like spring and summer.
That could be it.
It's because Gemini season's approaching, and we all know that's the best season of the year. Anyway, enough about me. This is about you.
Right.
Who is your horror crush?
Oh, it's Eliza Dushku.
Yes, I will co-sign that and seal that with a kiss.
Yep, definitely Eliza Dushku.
Absolute hot sauce. Your most recent binge watch?
Well, with the exception of the franchise that we're talking about today, it was Friday the 13th. The entirety of Friday the 13th and the reboot.
That's a long binge.
It was a long, it was an endeavor, but I made it through.
Yes, you did. What's your love language?
My love language is probably physical touch.
Physical touch?
I'm a Scorpio.
Yes, that checks. What's your hate language? How do people know that you don't like them?
My hate language is cutting you off completely. Like a limb with necrotizing fasciitis. Just, you're gone. Yep.
Perfect. That's efficient.
Yes, it's efficient, and it leaves very little room for argument. It's like, nope, that's it. Goodbye.
That's also a very Scorpio thing.
It certainly is.
Donnie Cianciotto.
You got it.
Yeah, baby. Our quintessential Scorpio. Perfect. Ooh, this is one of my favorite questions. If you were a movie theater snack, what snack would you be and why?
I'd be something chocolate and fattening. So probably like Reese's Pieces.
That's peanut butter.
But it has the chocolate coating on the inside of the shell.
Oh, just a little
I
bit.
think. Am I completely wrong?
So we're giving chocolate teas?
Just a little chocolate.
Just a little chocolate.
And then
And a whole lot of fat.
The fat is the most important part. The fat and the sugar.
That's the saddest. Well, I don't want to say satisfying because like your body within like 30 minutes is like more.
Yes.
But that's the part that like all of your bells and whistles go, fuck yeah.
Oh, it's the happiest thing.
All right. So Reese's Pieces, final answer?
Or Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Reese's Peanut Butter
It's
Cups.
definitely in that genre.
A combination that just goes so well together.
Oh, God, they do.
Chocolate and peanut butter. If you had to be a character in a horror movie, what character would you be and why?
See, I think I'm a new trope.
Okay.
I do. I think I'm a new, relatively as of yet unwritten trope, which is, very egotistical. But here's why. Because as I mentioned earlier, the bury your gays trope is kind of being dissolved. So it still happens. But I think that as a trans person, once we start seeing more trans people in movies in general, especially horror movies, we'll see us make it to the end. But you won't think we're going to make it to the end because we become so accustomed to think, oh, this is a queer person, they're going to get killed off. So I think that I'm this trope that's going to start happening once we start to see more equity and diversity in films, where the trans person is like there and you're like, oh, obviously you're going to die. But we don't. We make it to the end. Maybe we're even like the final person or one of the heroes. So I like to think of it like that.
I love that. It's like almost like I don't know what like the opposite of a red herring is, but it's just kind of like the red herring victim. I don't know. What's the word for that? Is there a phrase for that? For like the person that you think is going to die that doesn't die?
I know what you mean, but I don't know that there is a term for that.
Like, I don't know.
I like red herring victim. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Well, that's what it's going to be for now. Wonderful. That's great. I think I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love to see that. Because I think, I mean, of course, there's like they, them, which was okay.
It was all right.
It was all right.
It was all right. It was still great to see the movie, and there were a lot of people in it who are fantastic, who, you know, deserve more opportunities as actors, but, you know, it was all right.
It was all right.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yes, we are the trans character who is not only in the movie, but survives the movie.
Survives the movie.
Supported, co-signed, also sealed with a kiss. So this one, I personally have no filter and no care about what I share on this podcast. And I will project that attitude onto you right now. I would love to know the most embarrassing moment of your life.
Okay. I know when we shot this the first time, I said one thing.
Uh-huh.
But I've been thinking about it.
Okay.
When I can't sleep, which is often. I'm like, you know, what was the most embarrassing moment of my life? And there are a couple. One of them comes to mind when I was 13 years old, and I was doing a musical theater review at this community theater for kids in Tucson, Arizona. And the song that I was assigned to sing is called Let Me Entertain You from a musical called Gypsy, which is sung by a stripper. And here I am, 13, and I was wearing my mom's red sequin dress. It looked kind of like this backdrop behind me here.
Oh, I borrowed this from your mom.
Oh, that's amazing. Tell her I said hi. That was fascinating.
Why is it over your face?
I don't know. I did a thumbs up, and it did a face right over my face.
Interesting.
Huh, well,
we're going to keep that. Why is there... I'm pulling back the curtain again. We're going to get back to your story. I'm sorry. I'm going to pull back the curtain again. The last time we tried recording something, I was using OBS, which I'd never used before. And at one point, like Donnie was talking and balloons just came up on the screen. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see them. I was so confused when Donnie was like, why are there balloons on this screen?
I thought I was hallucinating.
So now this time, a bubble with a thumb popped up while you were talking.
Right over my face.
Right over your face. Mm-hmm. Donnie, what kind of witchcachraft is this?
I don't know. It's witchcraft that I'm not even aware of.
Technomancy or whatever that is.
Technomancy.
Technomancy, the technomancer. Mm-hmm. Anyway, sorry for that interruption.
It's very important.
So yes, you borrowed a red sequin dress from your mom to sing a stripper song.
A stripper song.
At 13 years old.
Mm-hmm. And the crazy old lady who ran the company at this point wanted me to go sit on the lap of some man in the audience. Like, just pick one, whomever was close by, and go sit on some person's lap. And me being the actor that I am, I was like, yeah, sure, no big deal, whatever. You know, none of this should have happened. This is where the story veers into a different direction.
Wait.
Okay. I know. It's going to get even weirder. It's going to get even stranger. So we're doing the show. We did it a couple times, maybe like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I see this young person. I thought they were probably in their 20s. And they were close. They were in the right chair. You know, they were close by me. So I'm singing my little stripper number and went and sat on this person's lap. And, you know, was singing to them and being all flirty and stupid, and then got up and finished my song. After the show, somebody came up to me and said, hey, why did you choose to sit on a girl's lap? And I said, what? And they were like, yeah, that girl's name is Samantha. She's like 16 and is in one of the other acting classes. And I was like, oh no. So I had unwittingly, this was before I'd come out, picked the one lesbian in the theater and sat on her lap and embarrassed the crap out of her. And this, again, I hadn't even come out as a lesbian yet. So my gaydar was just like this one. And I went and I sat on the girl's lap and did my stripper number to her. And that was probably one of the most embarrassing moments, and yet also foreshadowing quite a lot about my life.
Well, first off, I'd love to say that did not go where I was afraid it was going to go.
Right, of course. It could have gotten really, really bad.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
But also, yeah, just like your body knew what to do in that
Uh-huh.
situation. Your
Yep.
body took over. I love that. I feel like that's, yes, embarrassing at the time, but liberating.
Liberating now and very funny to look back on. Yes. At the time, though, I was so afraid of being read as gay that I was mortified that I had done that, And then like 6 months later, I was like, oh yeah, I'm a super dyke.
Yeah, absolutely. That was unintentional, but necessary.
Yep.
That was nature
It was
there.
a learning moment.
And the last question, to keep it optimistic, what are you looking forward to right now?
Well, there is a Trans Voices Cabaret coming up on June 22nd that I'm looking forward to. And then there's a drag show that I happen to be doing, like this variety show on May 31st.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
just a little drag variety show on May 31st.
Yeah, just this little thing happening in Brooklyn at 9:30 p.m. that maybe somebody else wants to
Yes.
mention.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, right there. Once again, for those listening, it's at the bottom of the screen. And I'm just going to preface this by saying this information is only important to you if you are watching / listening to this podcast the day that it comes out.
Right.
Because if this is the day after or beyond, this does not mean anything to
Irrelevant.
you. Irrelevant.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. So on Friday, May 31st, I am hosting a drag show. It is CryBaby's first ever public breakdown.
Yes.
Yes, it's going to be at this cute little space called Nook in Brooklyn. And the owner has been wanting me to do a drag show there for 2 years.
Yeah, you've been talking about it
I've
for
been
about
talking
that
about
long.
it forever.
Mhm.
And I've just been so insecure in like my hosting abilities, and like I didn't know what kind of show I wanted to produce. And then for this podcast, I'm like, I need to have a launch party. Like even if it's the dinkiest little launch party, I want to have a launch party for this show. And it has to be a drag variety show. And it just so happens to also be on my birthday.
Look at that.
So we're
What a coincidence.
May 31st, we're going to be kicking off Pride Month. We are celebrating the birth of a monster, both me and the podcast, and just having a great time. Thank you for plugging my thing.
You're welcome.
Wow. Gosh, I don't have to do any work around here. This is great. I too am looking forward to Trans Voices Cabaret on
Thank you.
June 22nd.
June 22nd at 9:30 at Caveat in Manhattan.
Or online if you're not in New York.
That's right.
Go.
Please go.
Please. Excellent. So I think it's now time to let the cat out of the bag. For those astute observers who are watching, you probably know what franchise we're talking about. For those of you who are only listening, I'm sorry for edging you this long. I don't think...
That's right.
I didn't even tell you. We've just been like, yeah, the franchise we're talking about. I never said, like, we're going to let you know. But now it's time that we're going to let you know.
Are you ready?
Donnie, I'm going to let you do the honors. What franchise are we talking about this season?
This season, we are talking about Child's Play.
Ooh. One of the gayest franchises around.
Absolutely.
I fucking love Child's Play so much.
The entire series is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Child's Play is one of those series that you either absolutely adore or you hate so much that you're going to turn this off right now.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I feel like Chucky is, I would say, probably the most recognizable horror icon to non-horror people.
For sure. Everybody, horror fan or not, seems to know this little doll.
Mm-hmm. Chucky was everywhere in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like everybody knows Chucky. Not everybody loves Chucky.
That's true.
And I feel like only the real ones love Chucky.
Only the real ones. Yeah, that's true. In the 90s, I actually worked at a Spencer's at the mall.
Spencer's. That's a throwback.
Uh-huh.
I miss Spencer's. I would spend so much time in a
There
Spencer's.
are still a couple of Spencer's around, but they're few and far between now.
I feel like it's not the same.
It's not the same. Back then it was called Spencer Gifts. Now it's called Spencer's. I think Universal Studios bought them out, something like that.
Yeah.
But we used to sell all sorts of Chucky merchandise, including the regular sized Good Guy dolls.
Oh, really?
Yep. And Chucky masks and Chucky coffee mugs and all sorts of things. And people were just obsessed with Chucky.
I'm still stuck on the doll. I'm sorry. I had no idea Spencer's had, like, we're talking like real, like,
Just the straight up Chucky doll.
oh my God. If anybody out there wants to treat me for my birthday, please send me a Good Guy doll. I would love to have one. My roommate would hate it, but I don't care. I would love it. I'll find something to do with it. But yeah, you're right. Yeah. And even like Hot Topic, like all of those kind of, I don't even know if I want to call them counterculture, because it was like mall culture, counterculture.
They were at first.
Yeah.
And then very quickly sold out.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as you're opening up next to like a hot dog on a stick, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if you can say that you're like subculture
I
anymore.
used to work at Hot Topic too. It was my early 20s.
Once again, Scorpio.
Mm-hmm. What a surprise.
Well, for those of you who may not be familiar with the overall story of Chucky, it's the killer doll. You know, Chucky the killer doll started in the 80s. In 1988, I believe, is when the first one came out, and is still going strong today with a TV series. So this has been like, what, 30 some odd years?
Yep. It's got a lot of longevity.
Let me see if I can do the math real quick. Came out in 88. So it's 30 years.
Carry the one.
That's 30 plus. Hold on. We're in 2024 now. So 36. 36 years.
36 years.
That took an embarrassingly
Hold on, 'cause I'm
long.
43. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just said how old I am.
Do you want me to edit that out?
No, I suppose that's fine. I've been like alluding to my age this whole time, but
That's
I said
true.
it out loud, yeah.
Some people are just like, wow, you remember movies from the 80s?
I know.
That came out? Like, what?
You must have been one. Wow, what a great memory.
Speaking of, actually, so Evil Dead, you said, is like your first horror.
That I can remember, yeah.
Yes. Mine is Child's Play. Specifically, Child's Play 3. Specifically, the opening title sequence to Child's Play 3. I personally find it terrifying. Just like blood and melted plastic all over the place. And then just this Brad Dourif amazing just bellow. And it used to scare the shit out of me all the time when I was a kid. Well, actually, the nightmares that I had were probably before Child's Play 3 came out, because I had a nightmare when I was a baby. We're talking like I was in a diaper.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how young I was. Like, I was in my crib, and I looked up into the picture frame that was hanging above my crib, and a little miniature Chucky crawls out of the picture frame, jumps into my crib, and climbs into my diaper. That's like my earliest horror memory.
Oh my God. It's both not funny and hilarious.
Exactly.
That
like,
would scare the crap out of me.
even as a fucking baby, my imagination was lit.
Uh-huh. Wow.
So yeah, Chucky has a special place in my heart and my pants.
And your pants,
my
yeah.
pants. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it. But also, like, we talk about Chucky all the time.
Yes, we do.
We both love Jennifer Tilly.
Oh, Jennifer Tilly.
Jennifer Tilly.
Yep.
And
That's another crush.
a big time crush. Jennifer Tilly is such a wonderful addition to this series. And we all know, well, you know, and you all are about to know how I feel about Chucky's daddy, Don Mancini.
Yes. We are about to hear a lot of this.
Yes. We're going to probably turn it into a drinking game.
Yep, we should.
How many times I say Don Mancini is hot. I think Don Mancini is so attractive back in the 80s and now. Like,
He's a handsome guy.
he is a handsome guy. And his mind. Like, my attraction to Don Mancini goes beyond physical appearance. And it has everything to do with the fact that I just think he is funny and hilarious and brilliant and funny and
Very clever.
Very clever and bold.
Go ahead, say it again.
I love Don Mancini. He is so, I'm so attracted to Don Mancini. So Yes, that's why we are talking about this, because I'm trying to get Don's attention.
That's right.
Come here, Don.
Hey, Don.
I would love to have you on the podcast. You can also cast me if you want to. If you need a drag queen in Child's Play, and cast Donnie.
Cast Donnie. Cast drag queen and a trans actor.
Please do. We'll keep the series gay,
Yes, we will.
which is, of course, another main reason why we're talking about
Super
this.
gay, super queer, super trans.
You may not catch it in the first, the first one, I don't think there's as much of it, because Don Mancini had only written the script and then it was picked up and worked on by another team. But when Don comes back and has his hands in the series from then on out, it gets increasingly more queer as it goes along.
The first one was not particularly queer. You know, it was also 1988. So everything that had any kind of queer vibe was an undertone, as opposed to like how in your face it gets eventually.
Oh, it slaps you in the face and calls you a
Yes, it does.
It gets pretty overtly queer. But no, I think you're right. And, in the 80s, of course, you can only fight so many things. Like, people were already freaking out over the fact that it was a killer toy.
Right.
In this decade of, satanic panic and family values and fucking Reagan and all of that. So
Yep.
Don just put it in his back pocket and waited until later. So
Right.
is there anything else that you want to say about the franchise before we wrap up and send our listeners off to the next episode?
Let's see. The only thing that I want to say about the franchise is if you haven't watched it yet, you have a joyful experience ahead of you.
I will second that.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those series where I would enjoy erasing it from my memory
Oh, that would be so
just so
fun.
I could watch it again.
Just so you could do it again.
It just gets so much more as you progress, just unhinged and fun and wild and crazy. Oh, I'm so excited to talk about it.
I am too.
Yes. So with that said, we're going to wrap up, and the next episode we will be talking about the first installment, simply Child's Play.
Yep. That
Yeah.
was it. That's the first episode.
That's the first episode. Wow, we did it.
Wait, how do you feel about that?
I feel fantastic. I'm chafing a little bit, so I think I might have to put some Gold Bond on the inside of this corset here a little bit. That's why if you're watching this at home, you're probably watching me fidget.
Doing this a lot.
I'm doing this a lot because these pits. Hold on, I'm gonna do the hot thing that gay men love, even though I am painted like this.
That's it.
Everyone loves the armpit.
Everyone loves
Get
the
into
armpit.
it, Mama. Get into this pit. That's chafing right here. So, and people who are just watching are running to YouTube to pull up the video right now. I hope. Yes, I just showed pit on air. I'm we're doing a send off, and next thing you know, it's just armpits chafing
And armpit hair.
And armpit hair. Anyway, Donnie, where can our listeners and watchers find you?
You can find me on Instagram at the Donnie Cianciotto. If you're not watching this, you'll have no idea how to spell that last name. So good luck.
I'll throw it in the show notes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'll throw it in the show notes for sure. And you can find me, CryBaby, at cryin_in_public, because that is what I do. And of course, you can follow the podcast Horror Icon Pod. That's WHORROR Icon Pod on both Instagram and the Twitter.
The Twitter.
The Twitter. So until next time, cuties, don't be scared unless you're into that sort of thing. Bye.